Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
You're listening to First Paso. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first paso.
Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and today's special guest is someone that I've known for most of my life, but we've probably really just kind of built our relationship in the last few years. Her husband and my older brother have been best friends since elementary school, and so it's been really amazing how, despite growing up together, the two of us, that this stage of our lives has brought us closer together for so many random reasons, but for things that I hold near and dear to my heart, as I'm sure she does as well. And so her story is so amazing that I've wanted people to hear it and be touched by it and moved by it. And so without further ado, here's my dear sister and friend, Sarah Swift. Hi, girl. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Candace. Thank you, first and foremost, for letting me be on here.
Yeah.
I feel so fortunate, like you said, to know you and then to be here to speak on these things. And I may be someone you haven't known or haven't really known as long as other people, but I feel fortunate to share all these things with you.
Yes, girl. Thank you so much for being willing to share your story with us. Like, I mean, it's inspired me, and so I'm like, everybody else needs to be inspired by this story. It's so cool. How has quarantine been, being at home with the kiddos and hubby? And
It's good. It's rough. So I have a daughter who is 2, and then a younger daughter, and she is 6 months, almost 7 months, which is wild.
wow.
And it's good. It's tough, as you can imagine, but I'm fortunate to live in an area where we're able to get outside, and so that's been a saving grace for us to be able to get outside.
Yeah.
And see the world a little bit, go on walks.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. If I didn't live in the area that I live in to go on walks, I think I'd probably be a little bit more stir crazy than I already am, but it's okay.
Yes.
It's fine. It's all right.
Yes. We make a lot of food too.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Us, absolutely. You're not wrong. But I mean, we're surviving, so it's okay. We're gonna make it. It's gonna be good. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I am a physical therapist, and I met my husband in high school, so you know him too, Candace.
Yes.
And that's a whole nother discussion, a whole nother thing with my husband, a whole nother topic, but we'll move on from that. So, when we got married, we had always planned on having a family. And I was ready to just jump on it, let's do this thing.
Right.
And what?
No, yeah, it's like, yeah, you guys wanted to, you guys are pretty eager to get started.
Yeah. And so we began that journey of trying to grow a family. And we always knew that it didn't matter how that was going to happen, that we trusted the Lord, that he was going to lead us in a way that was going to be for his glory. And so we decided, let's do this. So we began trying and were unable to conceive using different methods and whatnot. So it had always been on our hearts, like I'd said, to grow in whatever way that the Lord wanted us to. So we ventured into the world of adopting. And at the time, like I said, my heart was in a place where I just wanted a family. That's all I was focused on.
Yeah.
And I guess my first paso was having a heart change, because I wanted a family. That's it. And there was no, I wanted it. I wanted a baby. It was all mine, you know? And so my journey to motherhood is my own journey. I want to say that first. I want to be inspirational to the people and to everyone that's listening. Hopefully that you listen. But it is not, it's not everyone's journey. So what I speak on is the way that the Lord has worked on me. And I hope to bring, my story to someone else, but I don't want it to be that person feels like this is the only way that it should be done, if that makes any sense. And once I begin telling you more of my story, I think you'll understand because of the things that people will say. But like I said, so my journey to motherhood was I needed a heart change. I also want to say that I don't believe that the Lord desired my daughter, who you'll hear is adopted, my oldest daughter. I don't believe that the Lord desired from the start for her birth mother and their family to have my daughter removed from their family. That's something that's very important to me. And growing up for Joanna, or for my daughter, I want her to know that's not something that the Lord wanted for her. The Lord took a situation that may not have been good, if that makes any sense, and he molded it as only he can. It's not something that maybe we understand. I don't understand it, and I don't understand why some are able to conceive and some aren't, and I'm gonna take that as I don't need to understand. And again, this is the Lord has been working on me and changing my heart. And this is like my discussion telling you how that happened. I don't understand. I don't have the answers, and that's okay. We don't have to have the answers. And yeah, it's okay. But in my quest, in my journey, I was crying out to the Lord, why am I not a mom? And the anger and the frustration and the tears would flow anytime there was something on social media about a family that, had their sixth kid. And it's just, so, I was asking my husband, why? Why? So again, in preparing for this discussion and to talk to you, Candace, I came to the realization, without even knowing it at the time, that my first step into motherhood and pursuing adoption was not that I need a baby or why am I not a mom. I had to have that heart change because like I said, I wanted a baby, and I was angry and frustrated and jealous. Jealousy played a huge role, that these women were able to claim motherhood as a part of their title. And I needed that, I wanted that title. But this heart change that I speak of, it needed to happen before I could become the person or the mother that I am. I needed, and that's still happening, like still working on that heart change. But I needed to realize that the child or the person, considering adoption, you don't know what age child, depending on the situation. But I needed to realize that a person or a child, they're not mine. Because again, I was saying I wanted a child, my child, that ultimately they are the Lord's. And that biological or not, even if you bore a child, they're not yours,
Right.
So I'm going to say my oldest daughter, and I say but this child is loved by her first mama and the Lord and many, many others. But the heart change needed to happen.
Yeah.
And the the thing that gets me through in that question of how I said that I didn't want my daughter to be removed from her first family is that her first mama chose me to parent. And so I was chosen to parent not only my oldest daughter, who we adopted, but also my youngest, who I did give birth to. I was chosen to do that first by the Lord and by her first mama, but then also by the Lord with my youngest. So the word chosen, I was very important when talking about adoption, that, that again, worked on my soul, worked on my heart, that the child is not mine. I need to help them feel loved, of course, and feel, that, they're a part of a family, but it's a family of not just myself and not just, the first family, but the Lord. And that's my hope and my desire. I know I fail every single day, but that's what I hope, that I can bring to our family. So being a parent, being pregnant, after this heart change that I had is, wow. So, I went at this pregnancy with my youngest at 7 months in a whole different way than I think I would have, if I had, been pregnant, just,
from the get-go.
when I wanted to.
Yeah.
It taught me to be a better mother for my youngest. I don't think that I would be able to care for her the way, if it had worked out the way I wanted it to. I wouldn't have had the heart change to help me mold me into the person that I am.
Yeah.
So again, my plan was not the plan that I thought, would happen, but I needed that first step. I need the first step of the heart change before anything else could happen. And his plan, the Lord's plan, just evolved after that.
Yeah. Wow. So you had this desire to be a mom, and you had to go through this experience through your heart change. How did that affect your process of adoption? Like, was this something that, like, while you were in the process of the adoption, you felt like your like God was, like, transforming how you saw this process? Or did you go into it having already gone through that process enough to feel like, yeah, I feel like I can give this whole process to the Lord? Or were you kind of in this halfway point getting into that?
Yeah, great question. So the heart change, when I was wanting a family and I needed it, I'm not going to lie, we went into adoption, or I did, speak on my own part. I went into adoption still just with that. I know that sounds awful, but I want a family. And it was at that point, after we signed papers, that I really was like, okay, Lord, this is real.
Yeah.
And I will admit, that's when I really started praying, because some of the questions that they asked in regards to, would you like, they'll ask you, would you like an open adoption or a closed adoption? And my first, meaning open with the first family, or you don't really have a connection with the first family, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my first thought with this original mindset was closed. I was like, no woman will be able to, I'm a mom, the child will not love me if there's more mothers out there. And again, this is awful to speak of, but this is what went through my mind.
Yeah, it's your truth, girl.
So, closed adoption is what I went into. And I can't tell you the day, but and I don't even know if it maybe was something I read or a verse, but now it just makes me just squirm that I even thought that I wanted a closed adoption. I just swiftly made the change to wanting an open adoption. But it wasn't for me. It was my daughter. How in 15 or 10 years or 5 years, how can I explain to her that I wanted to cut everything off because of me? It wasn't for her.
Wow.
So I needed, again, that was kind of, I'd say even the first step of the first step, figuring out that it wasn't just me, it was my daughter. And there's always going to be a part of her that's not me, and what questions, and I want her to know that I'm going to fight for her, all of her, not just the part I want, if that makes sense. She is a person, and again, not mine, not, the Lord's, and that I need to love all of that. So the heart change didn't just happen and then we adopted it. It was an evolving process.
Yeah. So how did you said that this was something that you and your husband like decided together, or was this something that like you're like, I'm thinking about this, and you kind of had to like go through the process of figuring out between the two of you whether or not that really was what you both wanted?
Because we had known each other in high school and dated in high school, we had gone to several like music concerts and things, and I don't know how it is nowadays, but they used to do these like Holt adoptions. They have remember that kind of like the actual basic. And at that point, I mean, I was like 15, and I told Sam, and of course he was like, I'll do anything you want.
Of course. Right.
Yeah. I was like, Sam, what if we sponsored a child? So the desire to I don't know, love on or whatever another child began then, and then that's just something that we've discussed since. Like, it was going to be we thought it's going to be a part of our story, but didn't know how that would happen. So no, it was already on his heart as well. I'd love to hear what he would say, but I didn't have to discuss too much with him. He was pretty much on board.
That is fascinating to me, because that to me shows how God works in advance. The fact that was on your heart at 15, and you were already with Sam, the person you would be having to go through adoption with in the future, that he'd be like, let me like place this in front of them, so that way by the time it does show up when it's supposed to, they're not going to be shocked about it, or like you're not going to freak out. You're not going to be like, wait, this was not the plan, Lord. Like, no, we were going to conceive. Like, that wasn't at all it. It was like, no, our heart for children who need to be adopted has been cultivated for like a decade now. You know what I mean? It's just like, we're ready for that. It makes sense to us. We've already had a heart for that. So that to me shows how God will do what he needs to do to make sure that what he desires to happen will happen in the way that he wants it. And so that's so beautiful to me, that I just love how the Lord works. That he would do things like this. It's just so amazing. It's so amazing. So how was the because you said that you adopted, you said you weren't conceiving, you adopted, and you've already mentioned that you conceived. So like, how did tell that like in between story from like, we adopted the daughter, and and then it's like, wait, now I'm pregnant, like how did that transition go for you?
So that's a big conversation. So like the thing that people will say when they see us out, or even family members, they'll say, oh, that happened to my cousin's uncle's brother. They adopted, and then they had their own. And I was like, I don't even want to get on that soapbox. That's a whole nother podcast episode.
Girl, yes.
Just know that that's not appropriate to say, and not appropriate at all. But for many different reasons. But we adopted, and in my heart, I was at peace. this is it. And I'm so, happy with what you've done, Lord. Like, this is amazing. And the heart change also involved me. I mentioned I wasn't jealous anymore when I saw a pregnant person. So the thought of actually conceiving was gone. That's something I think was so important for me to be a mother, or to live. The Lord took that opportunity to be like, you just need that off your back. I'm going to take that from you. And he did. And so, like I said, it wasn't on our minds. And again, this is just my story. This is not how it has to work for everybody. And everybody's plan, the Lord has a plan for everybody. And again, it may not be this way. Again, I don't want everyone to think this is the only way it's supposed to work. But so we weren't trying, and I had noticed I'd been going to the bathroom too many times. And so I was like, what is going on? This is not right. And when I found out Joanna was the first person, she was there with me, and I cried. But I don't even have words for that moment. It was just kind of like, wow, what have you got going on now? I mean, my daughter wasn't even 2 yet. And so to handle all of that was a lot for me, because I'm a planner, I want to have everything just so. And change that too, blew that all out of whack. Because that was not the plan. So it was just it was important for me in that time to realize that I wasn't jealous anymore, and that I was at peace with there was peace in my soul for that, that deep yearning to be a parent. I don't know if that really answers your question. But I was shocked, I guess, whenever I found out that I was pregnant. But I will say that I am nervous. I was, and I am still nervous as to how, because of the race difference that we have now in our family. I don't think I mentioned that before. Is how that's going to play out in the world and whatnot. But each day, I'm going to teach her that, both Joanna and my youngest, that I'm going to teach it in the house and in the family that, we love each other. We see your differences. We respect them. We love them. We're going to cultivate them. There's going to be different things we have to discuss with both of them in regards to racial inequality and all that entails. But I'm ready for it. And what I'm not ready for, someone else, calling other people that I know to help me. And again, that's a whole other podcast episode as well. But so it's still a journey, it's still evolving.
And I think, since it's like things like that are on your heart, even just like the racial differences between your daughters, and I think because you're so passionate about them just seeing each other as sisters and really nothing else, like it's not like, this is my sister who was adopted, like it's not going to be like that. That's not the conversation that they hear. And so they're probably, you might have to teach it on some level, but there's probably going to be a natural, I will fight for her because she's my sister. Like, you can't, I will protect her name. I will protect her worth, her value, who she is, simply because she's my sister, period. We're not categorizing the type of sister. This is my sister, and from both angles, and it'll even be for when they point out, who Joe's parents are. And it's going to be like, no, like, they're my parents just as much as my, my birth mom is also they're all my parents, period, and they're going to grow up having this desire to protect what they know is what God created the makeup of their family to be. And it might just make them stronger, especially because it's so important for you guys to continue having those conversations in the house.
It is so important.
So I think that's going to be really healthy and probably really exciting to see how it develops. But at the same time, you know, you're also mama bear and you're like, I don't want anything to happen to my kid. You can't control people's mouths and actions outside of the family, but you can teach the daughters how to react to them, you know,
yes,
and
exactly.
how the family to react to them.
And to discuss,
and to talk
have
about
communication and to understand. People will say hateful things. Like you said, I know that it will. And I know my heart, I'm not ready for all the things that people will say.
Yeah.
Or we already have said, but I want to teach them, you know, that we're here to communicate, to talk, and, you know, that we don't want to lose that, because when you're not talking and you just have all these questions bottled up, especially the kids, you know, in your head, things people say, we want to open it up and talk about it. And we don't want to hide, you know, well, we can't, but we don't want to hide the fact that Joanna is Black. She's beautiful, and that it's an amazing, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So her hair, everything, you know, embrace everything.
Yes. And she's a bundle of joy too. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, she just radiates that child. So you and Sam have truly been blessed. I mean, you get to experience things that most people don't get the opportunity to even understand. Like, to me, and we've had this conversation before, I feel like even just the process of adoption and having your own child, like, or, you know, they're both your own child, but like,
yeah,
going through both processes, because they're so very different. Mm-hmm. I think they both showed two sides of God that result in the same thing. It's like, whether you were adopted into the family like the Gentiles, or you were born into the family like the Jews, you're all my kids. Mm-hmm. And he's in scripture is so intentional about that. And until you've adopted and birthed one that's come from you, like, I think you can kind of understand it, but it's not as an intimate of a experience until you are the mother of one that you adopted and one you conceived. And to say, but you're both equally mine no matter what. Like, what divides you is not, like, what's different about you does not divide you. It only brings you closer together, because it's an expression of who I am as your parent, as your, you know, as your father, as your mother. And so I think it's just a beautiful description of the Lord. Like, you're literally like a walking example of scripture as a whole family. And people don't realize it, but I think the example that, you know, on your heart, God is so important to you and to Sam and your family, that he knew you guys could handle sharing that side of God to the world. And God's kids get ridiculed all the time, and he's just like, they're still my kids, you know. Like, I'm going to strengthen my kids to know how to stand up for themselves. I'm going to strengthen my kids to stand up for each other, and I'm going to strengthen them to know how to stand up for me. And that's how my family works. And you guys are going to be a walking example of that, and you already have been to so many. So it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. And if you, so, you know, I just love your story. I've loved it since we've talked about it from the time that you were adopting, and it's been so fun to watch it unfold and where it's going, and seeing their little personalities develop as they get older. And it's like, it's just such a cool experience, you know.
It is. I'm so thankful to be able to see that. You know, that's something that's always been on our heart, to see that. And that I pray for anyone that's listening that that you are able to experience at some extent that feeling, if that's what the Lord, you know, has for your life, because it is beautiful. So I don't take that for granted. You know, every day I know what it's like to, you know, to want something, but then to have that heart change, man, just really made the difference for me. Again, this is just what has happened to me. So it was great. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. So, you know, what would be like your final words for maybe someone who has a desire for adoption but doesn't know how to go about it, or they're feeling discouraged because they're not conceiving and the idea of adoption just doesn't sound appealing to them, or like, or what would you say to other moms who have children of different races? Like, what would be your encouragement?
I would love to talk to you.
Right? Like, please, let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
Call me.
Right?
So your first question, you'll have to remind me of the last one, but the first one you said, in regards to look like what might be your first step if you were wanting to adopt. Do your research. That is something that I wish I would have done more of. I worked on the heart change, which was necessary, but now I'm coming up on the back end of figuring out all the things. It's just very important to do your research in regards to, find people on social media that are not of your race. If that's something that's on your heart to adopt out of your race, find those people. Read the books that they have. Get those books in your house. Follow, like, in regards to us taking care of Joanna's hair, so hair products, all of that, satin pillowcase. I mean, I could go on and on about the things that you've helped me with and that you need to know. So do your research, immerse yourself in the community. Maybe, you end up adopting a Hispanic child, whatever it is, you need to, I'd encourage you to do research, to get out there, to make yourself maybe uncomfortable, make other people uncomfortable. I know we do that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Just don't be afraid to do that. So that would be my first step, is to do that. And then, of course, pray about it, and then do your research on the adoption agency. And that is another episode. You've got to be, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. People, please do your research. You want my story, birth mother, birth parent, situation after birth, think about those kinds of things for them. And then your last question, you said in regards to my words for,
now I forgot. What did I say?
Someone who has different races in their
family.
Yeah.
So for those who already have different race children or different cultural children, what would be your advice for them?
So in quarantine right now, at least at this very moment, it's kind of hard, to get the face-to-face kind of talks that, I would love to have a friendly, meeting up with somebody, that has a similar family as mine. But there's opportunities, Zoom, where you could, see other families, talk with other people. And again, social media, we're at a time where, you can. I've found families that live close to us that are also have similar families. So, go out there. That's easy. That's just a flick on Instagram, to find family that it's scary, the things they know. Instagram knows they can help you find people at church.
So true.
So, find other people. That's my encouragement for myself, to be able to lean on and to talk to other people. But again, and I know I need to do a better job of immersing myself and our family when we can, in the Black community, or, again, whatever your situation is. But I think that is going to be so important for my family. And I want that to still, it's a part of my daughter and it's a part of us. So whatever that means for you, finding a place that everybody can grow and learn and love.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not married, y'all, but I will say, okay, Sarah, I love your boldness to ask beyond your discomfort and fear things that your daughter needs. And I mean, you reached out to me and was like, hair stuff, like hair. How do I do hair? And I need to understand, like, send me all the YouTube channels, tell me the products, the combs, the whatever, let me know.
The slap caps.
The slap caps, you know, all of those things. And I loved that you were literally out seeking it for your daughter. This has happened to me before, and I wanted to say this as an encouragement to parents who may have children of different races, and they really, you know, not everyone feels comfortable going online and like finding some random people that you don't know to ask them questions. That's still available. But if you're really not comfortable with doing that and you don't know anyone personally, I wouldn't be hesitant to just ask people that you even see in passing. This has happened to me. Like, I've been working at the pharmacy and I'm at the window and someone comes up to the drive-thru and they see that I have a natural fro and they'll be like, okay, I need to pick up my medication and then I have a question. And I'm like, what? And they're like, my child in the back. Obviously you can tell my child's black. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, I don't know how to do her hair. What do you put in your hair? And I'm over here like, I love that you just thought to ask me. I want you to feel comfortable asking any other black person that you come across these questions, because it shows that you want the best for your child and you're willing to do what may make you uncomfortable, you know, to get what you know she needs or what he needs. And so I really encourage you, don't be afraid to, if you recognize someone on the street that's like, you know, their hair is super nice and you're trying to figure out how to do your black child's hair, being like, hey, I like your hair. I have a child that is black. I'm trying to learn how to do that. I want to make sure I do it well. Can you, like, even just let me know, like, your top 3 products or, like, what you would use in a child's hair or whatever. Do that. Be honest that you're nervous even asking, because trust me, people will appreciate that, whether it's for the black community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community, whatever community it is. The fact that you as the parent are doing what you need to do to make sure your child knows who they are in their complete self and not just in who they are within the context of the family they've been adopted into, like, people will appreciate that and will have a heart for that, and more people are actually willing to share that information than you would probably think.
And I will tell you, Candace, it has happened more, and I haven't even shared with you some of these stories. But again, I've just been praying about not only hair, just everything in general.
Yeah.
And before quarantine, you know, we were out and about, and I was so uncomfortable, but it was just orchestrated perfectly. It was a smooth conversation with this woman, and she ended up being a hairstylist. And it was just like, well, wow, what? And so, you know, you never know, like, just taking a step, and again, you know, taking that first step just is scary at times, but like you said, you know, sometimes we have to be uncomfortable, and I so appreciate you being willing to answer some of my questions and then to be there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, I love that, because I've seen it go the opposite way, where it's like, no, I mean, I want them to know the context of our family and that's it. And then you see later on where the kids is like, they're like, but now I feel lost, because I know I only know this context, but no one's even wanted me to know the rest of what makes me me. And now I feel like I'm breaking through the family, and then they feel mad or jealous that I'm wanting to find out more about myself, and that they feel that they weren't adequate. And it's just like, if you just start from the beginning, you might save yourself a lot of, you know, heartache and frustration and jealousy. And, you know, and again, it's back to your child. You know, what can you think as far ahead as you possibly can to what may come up later from your child that could be prevented if you start early enough to not allow those questions to come up, or if they do come up, they're not brought up in, you know, a defensive way, or, you know, however they end up coming up. So that is just amazing. Sarah, thank you for sharing your story, and I'm sure people will be inspired by it, just like I've been inspired about it. The whole time I've known about this whole journey, it's just been so cool. It's so cool. Your love for God and how you trust his leading and how he moves. And you know, and I've said this in previous podcasts that, you know, I love Jesus, and I know not everyone listening to this is going to love Jesus, but man, I think sometimes it's very hard for me to be like, I don't know how to tell this story without explaining Jesus to you. You know, like, you know, I don't know how to explain how his role in this area allowed for ABCD to happen. Without it, I don't think ABCD would have happened. And so thank you for sharing that side for people to just listen to and maybe consider the Lord, you know. And even if you just wanted this story for the experience of what it's like to have to go through adoption and then have a baby, and now you have 2 children, like, I hope you learned a lot from this story. It's packed filled with a whole bunch of things that people have to process and rationalize, and it's a multifaceted experience, you know. There's so many layers. But I think hearing your story is going to bring a lot of comfort to people so that they're not the only ones feeling like they've gone through all of these roller coaster experiences in their spirit about how do I do this, and am I doing it right, and is this okay, and, you know, just taking it one day at a time, you know, taking it one day at a time, one moment at a time. It's going to be okay. You're doing fine, you know, and I think that's our wrap up message for today. And so, how can parents, or even kids who are adopted, kids who have siblings who are adopted, like, how can people reach you if they wanted to talk to you about some of the things you talked about?
I talked about Instagram. Instagram would probably be the best way to get with me. I don't know, Candace, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
Do you want me to say what my
Yeah, you can just like say what it is, and then I'll make sure to put it in the description later. Okay.
So if you wanted to follow me on Instagram, and maybe because I don't like let everybody follow me, if you wanted to reach out and like DM or PM me and say, you know, I've listened to this amazing podcast and I'd really like to speak to you more about anything at all, that would be awesome. So it's I'll spell it out for you. SCARLISLE 888. So that would be that's my handle on Instagram. So it's SCarlisle 888. And you could please, I told Candace that I love talking to people about everything in general, and you know, I have questions, I have things I'm trying to work through as well, so I'd love to talk to you. And again, thank you so much for listening to my story, such as it is, and thank you, Candace.
Absolutely, girl. I appreciate you coming on today. So thank you guys for listening to today's episode. If there are any topics that you want covered in the future or discussed, if they're from a personal perspective or just a general question that you have, feel free to hit me up on Facebook or Twitter at First Paso. And if there were parts of Sarah's story that resonated with you, that you would like shared on a future podcast, send those to me as well. And I'd love to share some of your experiences in relation to hers, so that way we all can kind of feel like we're going through this together and learning from each other's experiences as well. So until next time, guys, you take care. And Sarah, girl, get some rest, girl.
Oh, yeah.
Get that mom rest, you know. Dude, get it while you can, you know, because quarantine, I don't know how much rest you're getting, but when you can, I bless you with it.
You too.
Thank you. I don't have no kids, but I'm still tired. So, all right, girl, you have a great night.
Okay, you too. Thanks.
Bye.